All right, so one thing I want to touch upon is setting a header, because typically when we send a response, we want to make sure to let the browser know, the client, what kind of response we're sending. In this case, it's a JSON. It could be HTML page or just plain text. So let's do that next. So going back to Visual Studio Code, before I send the post, I can modify this response. I can actually change headers if I want to add additional information about this response. And the additional information I want to add here before I send is that I want to say this is JSON. I'm sending you some JSON content. So we're going to call the res object dot set. We want to set a header, a response header. Now this function takes two arguments. The first is the name of the header. Content dash type is the one that we can specify the type of information we're sending back to the client, comma, the value for this. The value here would be application slash JSON. This is just a standard, what we call MIME type. This is just the way everybody agreed to write if we ever send JSON back. Application slash JSON. If I save that, go to my Node server, kill that, restart, verify in the browser again. If I click refresh in localhost 3001/post, I should see here in the response headers, I should see content type application slash JSON there. I don't know if you can see, make it bigger. It's right here now. See this content type? That's what we set in the value application slash JSON. And there's some other stuff here. I think Express adds the character set UTF-8. That's for Unicode. And if I click raw data, pretty much same thing. Okay. Now let's finally, we have an API endpoint. We can consume this from our client application or front end. So instead of consuming the JSON placeholder one, we're consuming our own. So that's easy. Going back to Visual Studio Code, we are going to go to app.js under source. And the line where we make the request to get all those post information is line 9 inside the use effect. So instead of calling that JSON placeholder, whatever, slash post, we're going to call our own, which is in localhost 3001. So save that. Now, in this case, the front end, we changed some code to the front end. If I go to the terminal for the front end here, I think when we make a change, it automatically watches that we change it, so we don't have to restart the front end. Okay, let's go to the browser and go to the front end app. I have it in another tab, localhost 3000. If I refresh with my network tab open, make sure the DevTools network tab is open so you can verify it's making a request to localhost 3001. Refresh. Uh-oh, what happened here? Oh, we have a problem with cross origin. Okay. If we click on the console, cross origin request blocked. Same origin policy disallows reading remote. Okay, we're gonna have to deal with this. I won't talk much about CORS, but it's complaining because it expects you to request data from the same, for example, localhost 3000, it would expect you to maybe fetch data from API.localhost or whatever. So it's like thinking you're getting data from another place, and by default, that's not allowed. So what we have to do is go to the server side, and we have to include a header that says, hey, we allow you to be cross-origin. That's okay. Now, to easily do that, we can install an npm package called CORS, C-O-R-S. Let's do that. Going back here, you can carry a server. I just, for some reason, opened this terminal, but it can be the same one as the server. npm, make sure in the root folder of the project, npm install CORS. So once we got that, we go to Visual Studio Code, go to server/index. Now here, right after we define express call, we're gonna do the follow app.use. That's the function. Now we're gonna call CORS like this. Now this CORS will come from require CORS. So remember, we just installed CORS. So we can require that library like this and put in a variable that I'll call CORS, the same name as the module. And then we can call this here. Now, this thing is called a middleware. So in Express, a middleware is something in between your request, your response. So that means when a client makes a request, it first passes through the middleware. And after passing through the middleware functions, it will finally reach the handler function for your endpoint. In this case, this function for the slash post here. So something is happening before this call of this function. And it's the calling of the CORS middleware here. So when we say app.use, that means we're using a middleware for this Express application. So whenever I have a request, it will pass through the CORS middleware. And then after that, it will reach my function here. Now this CORS middleware will add some headers. It will set some headers. Remember, we use res.set. It's pretty much calling that. So it will set some headers to allow us to do cross origin requests. Now, because I changed that code, I got to restart again. Now you might be tired of doing that. So let me teach you a trick so you don't have to do that anymore. Now I'm going to call the server. Now we would have to use what's called Nodemon, but to do that, we got to install it. So let's go here to my other terminal, where I'm in the root of the project. I'm going to say npm space install space --save -dev space Nodemon. Now I put --save dev here because I want this to go under dev dependencies instead of dependencies. And I'll tell you what it means in a moment. Just install that like this. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code. I want to go to package.json. Now, if you notice, whenever we do npm install, it goes under dependencies, right? But because I said --save -dev, it went under dev dependencies instead. Now, why you have separate place? Well, some people like strictly separating what software or packages are used just for development with those that are also used in a production environment. So Nodemon is only for development. We just need it to watch the files and restart the server when we are developing. We don't want to use that in production at all. So that's why we separate and put them under dev dependencies. Now you can see Nodemon is there. Okay, now to call Nodemon, precede that of npx, and then Nodemon, and then the file. It's pretty much almost the same as nodeindex.js, except you got to say Nodemon and then npx before that. Now, why did it say npx before that? Because this command Nodemon is under node modules /.bin. And you can see, if you scroll down, there's a Nodemon command here. Now, if I didn't use npx, I would have to type explicitly. In my case, I'm using Windows. I got to use the slash backward like that. But if you're in Unix or Mac, it's the / /node modules /.bin /nodemon, like that. Okay. Now I'm using PowerShell. That's why it's messing up. But it's like that. So I don't want to type this. Let me use the other one here so you can command prompt. /node modules /.bin /nodemon space index. This case is server /index.js. So it starts like that, okay? So I don't want to type all this path, so I'd rather use npx. So I hope you understood that. Anyway, I'm going to kill this and trash this and go back to my PowerShell instance and just use npx before Nodemon. Now, when I do that, Nodemon will be watching. You can see here watching. And if we go to index.js in the server directory, if we do any change, let me say add some stuff here, save it, you can see it automatically restarting due to changes. So now we don't have to keep killing the server, restarting every time we change the code. Nodemon is doing that for us. Somebody asked the question, if you use npx, you shouldn't need to install Nodemon, correct? No, so you need to install Nodemon. So make sure you install Nodemon first. The reason for you using npx is so I don't have to type explicitly path to Nodemon dot slash node modules slash dot bin slash Nodemon. Make sure to install Nodemon so that it's included in your dev dependencies here. Let's continue. Make the errors will go away. Let's see. Save everything, and we're gonna go back to the browser here. Let's see this. Oh, yeah. That's right. Thank you for that. It's using HTTPS, not HTTP. There you go. Let's go back here. So we got that sorted out, and then we can observe in the network tab that it's calling for localhost 3001. And we got a response there.